Anyway, and there was McAfee and Wade Barrett and Michael Cole on the call as we began this pay-per-view with, oh, for God's sake, the Women's Royal Rumble. And you forget how long time can be until you sit down to watch the Women's Royal Rumble. And let me say this, I didn't watch this thing live. I did not watch it Saturday night, but at the same time, because of my interest was piqued in the Men's Royal Rumble, I didn't want to get it spoiled for me. So I recorded the program, and then Sunday, I didn't get on the internet during the day while I attended various chores around the house. And then when I got a chance to sit down and watch it, that's when I got on the internet, so nothing would be spoiled, although something was spoiled, but we'll talk about that here. But gee, money Christmas. 30 women is too much. I'm sorry. I don't mean to hurt anybody's feelings. But as I said to Camille, not to her face, we were on the phone, to her voice the other day, I don't hate women's wrestling. I want women's wrestling to be an attraction where the top women wrestlers are coveted, but not where everybody gets to play. And boy, there was some brutal choreography in this. At some points, it looked like some long-legged girls, auditioning to be a rockette with a prearranged dance routine that just happened to involve hitting somebody else in the mush. Brian, am I overstating this?
No, I think there are several potential rockettes. B-Fab, I think, could be a rockette.
Oh, boy. What? I thought you were going to make a comment. I was taking a drink, let you sit back and analyze B-Fab's fucking lack of fabness.
As Buddy Holly said, oh boy, B-Fab. She was in here, but she did not start it off. She did not start it off.
No, she didn't. Io Sky and Liv Morgan started it off, and I found out something else. The aisleway in this stadium, because they had 70,000, I don't know, we'll get to, they announced it, whatever. But the aisleway was like, goddamn, a quarter of a mile, and it would take Usain Bolt 5 minutes to get to the ring in this, so there, at one point, during the men's rumble, they did an entrance and milked the whole thing to where nobody made any contact by the time that the next entrance began. So, and especially Liv Morgan and Io Sky's little bitty legs are so little bitty and short. They can't cover a lot of ground. So that they started. And if you think I'm for an hour and 15-minute match, if I'm going to try to give you any goddamn
it's the Women's Royal Rumble
play or blow by blow or critique everybody's wrist locks, you're out of your mind.
This is a big match. It only happens once a year.
Well, we're good. Don't worry. We've got plenty to talk about.
Or if the Saudis want to buy it twice a year.
And then potentially what'll happen when, some other country gets all the money. Then we'll just lose all our events.
They're going to Saudi Arabia next year. You should have appreciated this. This is the last Women's Royal Rumble with skin.
Well, are they going to take 30 women over there and put them in scuba diver outfits?
Should they use this as a chance to separate the two Royal Rumbles and do them as two separate events, the women's event and the men's event?
Oh, please, please. They could do the women's event at the Performance Center. Anyway, number 3 was Roxanne Perez. She ran, and it took her almost 30 seconds to get to the fucking ring. I mean, thank God Jey Uso didn't have to do his big entrance all the way through this fucking thing. That distance, my God, he'd have been a candidate for a heart transplant. So then number 4 was Lyric Valedictorian. And number 5 was Chelsea Green, and she did her normal entrance with it. It's so over the top with the gesticulating and the facial expressions and everything that it's almost off-putting, the level of animation, but she took forever to get there because she was doing all that stuff and stripping as she went. And she got in, and the first 2 strikes that she threw was a forehand slap and a backhand slap, and she whiffed both of them. You couldn't really tell she missed on the first one because of the camera angle. But the second one, she tried a backhand and went 6 inches over his girl's head. Girl sold it like she'd been slapped by fucking Dana White's power slap champion. Or Dana White himself, for that matter. And then came B-Fab. And nobody, you could hear people asking the guy sitting next to him what time it was in this stadium of 70,000 people. It's like they all held their breath and thought, if we think hard, maybe she'll go away. She is worse than Model Girl. Because Model Girl does have the endearing, confused deer in a headlight look that she uses at everything, right? But she's a baby face. She's supposed to be somewhat simple-minded and pure of heart. But B-Fab's a baby face, and she walks around strutting around like she's a goddamn heel. And she's just rotten. It's an athletic girl that has no idea of the concept of wrestling, doing choreography as she sees it in her mind, that as long as you do this and they do that, there's no emotion or facial expression or level of aggression or any effect of realism or let me get you lost in this suspension of disbelief. It's just, I'm going to take my right foot and throw it up on your shoulder. Am I exaggerating a fine?
No, there are certain women in the company, and actually in the 2 cases you have right there, Maxine Dupree and B-Fab, they're both tall with long legs. And it's not like Barry Windham with long legs, where he just looks so graceful running the ring. It's not like that at all. It's like, you've said it before, like a deer on ice at times.
Yeah.
You're waiting to see what's going to hit the ground first, the ass, the feet. Like they don't know how to fall right, but they could both be Rockettes. I think they could both be really good Rockettes.
One could be the Rock and the other one could be the It. Anyway, so then Ivy Nile came in to straighten everybody out, number 7. Zoe Stark, number 8. I've noted they're not wasting the big names early, are they? Except for Liv Morgan, and Chelsea, they've used her a little bit. And here came Lash Legend. And she got in and fucked some shit up. Remember when we were still watching NXT like 4 years ago, she was kind of hilariously bad at the start, right? I wonder why we haven't seen her in 4 years move out of NXT.
Well, they just started using her on the main show with she has a tag team partner. I don't remember her name though. It was Lash Legend and her friend. She's a friend.
And Wyatt Earp and Lash Legend. I don't know, but point is, if it's taken her 4 years to get this fucking far, she may not live long enough to make the main roster. And she fought with B-Fab, some forearm potatoes and awkward kicks, and then Chelsea dumped B-Fab and got a pop for that. And then we started, okay, now it's the second 10, so we're going to step it up a notch. Number 10 was Bianca. Number 11, Shayna. Number 12, Bayley. Now we got a few things going on. I didn't keep track of who all got dumped when, because then there's another 30 names to write down.
Hey, what did you think of the graphics, though, here in this match and during the men's match, in terms of at the bottom of the screen they had how many people had already come out, how many people had been eliminated, how many more people were to come?
That was brilliant. And you can tell Lee Fitting, ESPN, any kind of that, it looked like a sports graphic where you could instantly tell, depending on what sport it was, who'd scored the points or who'd been in the quarter or whatever the case it was. So especially when it got down to the end, you say, okay, here's the 6 that are active, 24 have been eliminated, blah, blah, blah. All that made it somewhat easier to follow than in previous years when they didn't have the capability or the knowledge to line it all up like that, where it was not just a garbled mess on the screen. So I like that part. But then getting back to what I didn't like.
Back to the match.
Number 13 was Cruella DeVille. At least she came in at a dead run like she meant some business. And then came Model Girl. And she got in, and she and Ivy exchanged some awkward moves, and she whiffed a kick over her head or past her face or whatever. And then she stood around for a second looking confused, and then she fired up and did the worm in reverse. And now that apparently is the thing. The people will cheer for the simple-minded little thing if she just gets in the middle of the ring and tries to pose and fire up and flex her muscles, and she's goddamn so big around, and muscles on her arm look like mosquito bites on a strand of spaghetti, and if she turns sideways, sticks her tongue out, she'd look like a zipper, and when she gets a sunburn, she looks like a thermometer. She uses a Cheerio for a hula hoop.
All right. Will you leave her alone?
I could go on. But then came Naomi. That should be some kind of TV show on Bravo. Then came Naomi. And then was Jada Parker and Piper. What's her last? Piper and the Gates of Dawn.
Piper Niven.
Her former punk rock group.
No, that's a great album. You know, not a lot of people like the Sid Barrett. I shouldn't say that. A lot of people like the David Gilmour stuff more than Sid Barrett. But anyway.
Well, you see what happened to Sid over it, don't you?
You ever hear that story when they were recording, I think, Wish You Were Here? He showed up in the studio.
They didn't know who he was.
Bald and fat, and he said, when do I play my part? And then they all started crying.
And then he left.
That's why they were a miserable band. They had some good songs, though.
Well, but did they have any good songs in the Royal Rumble?
The women's?
The tune doesn't come to my mind. But next was Natalya. And then number 19 came Jordan Grace. And this, you watch the same things I watch. This is the first time I've actually seen her in the ring.
Well,
have we seen something I'm not remembering?
The question would be, did we have this exact conversation a year ago? I don't remember if you watched the Women's Royal Rumble, so I can't say, but she was in last year.
Was she?
Yeah, but I don't remember if you watched the whole thing. It could have been one of those ones where you zip through it.
I think, because there was more matches on last year's show, wasn't there? Because they had a shorter aisle. They had room for 3 more matches. So I think I may have just said, oh, I can't watch 2 Royal Rumbles back to back and let the women, ruin my taste buds for dinner. But anyway, it's first time I remember seeing her, and she came out, and they've obviously got plans. She beat up several of the girls and dumped Jada Parker and gave Piper a Death Valley driver and got a little holy shit chant going. And so they're obviously going to use her because they wanted her to make an impact. And the people, of course, now this is not a sample of the audience in Dubuque. These are the most motivated individuals, but they knew who she was. And then she hugs Naomi because they said they're friends from TNA. So this TNA, Vince didn't mention the companies that he was working with, few though they may have been, to the level that they mentioned TNA on this show. So they're friends, they hugged, and then Bianca came up and snatched Jordan by the hair and tried to dump her. Because Bianca's a WWE lifer, right? She's never been to the other side of the septic tank and knows where her bread's buttered on, as the old saying goes. You've always buttered your bread over a septic tank, haven't you, Brian?
No, I buttered my bagel, though, over the sink.
The outhouse? So anyway, there's going to be bad feelings there with Bianca and Naomi over Jordan. So we'll tune in on days of our menstruation to keep track of that. And then here came Mia Yim, number 20.
Meechin.
I'm reaching.
No, Meechin. Her name is Meechin.
Oh, it'll always be Mia Yim to me and Yim. And then number 21, and her and she. Alexa Bliss came back, and the people were screaming, and I don't know why. What is the attraction of her? And she just came back. Her last action was in January of 2024. Why was she out for a year? What injury did she?
She had a baby.
Oh, geez, that's a serious injury.
It may have happened after an injury, though, but she was out, and then she had a baby.
Wait a minute. You're saying the injury caused a pregnancy?
No, I'm saying that she may have been hurt and then got pregnant. I don't remember the order of things.
She wasn't able to run away with
That's not what I'm saying. I'm not her doctor. I don't know the schedule. I don't know what time. I don't know when she was supposed. I don't know anything. I just don't know.
Have you not got the notes on her ovulation yet? We were supposed to forward those over in the files.
Well, she's back, and apparently a lot of those fans, either they love surprises or they really like those awful segments she was constantly in. They seem to be excited, but
she's awfully slight to have had an offspring. If she was pregnant, that would have doubled her size, wouldn't it? From 80 pounds to 160? What would
that's the thing.
That seems like that's a serious medical condition.
I always think you're way too hard on Liv Morgan when you say, like, oh, she's tiny, she's this and that. Alexa Bliss, you could say that about. She's not.
Well,
only,
I just did.
She's not only smaller, but she's not only smaller than everyone. She also has supernatural powers. That's what I'm afraid of. She came out with that stupid doll. Remember the doll?
Yeah. Jerry Mahoney. She needs to upgrade to Knucklehead Smith.
Is she going to join the Wyatt Six?
Maybe she'll join Harley Cameron and they can throw their voices back and forth to the different dolls.
No. Harley Cameron could actually do it.
And, it depends on the doll you got. Because really the doll is the key to the whole thing. Once you get your hand all the way up we'll talk about that.
Back to the
later.
Women's Royal Rumble, ladies and gentlemen.
And Wade Barrett is like, people said she wouldn't come back. Stop reading the dirt sheets, Cole. So then number 22 was Zelina. Number 23 was Candy LaRue. Number 24 was Stephanie Vacker. And then
she got a big pop, surprisingly.
Well, yes, she did. I didn't say she didn't. I just didn't comment because... And then number 25, Trish Stratus. And they popped big because she's a surprise. She's a legend. She ticks all the boxes. But she got in there and did a bunch of stuff and looked better than, I don't know, 12 or 13 maybe of the previous entrants in this thing. How old is she now? She's got to be up there. She's eligible for AARP at this point, isn't she? She was...
No, she's only 49.
What?
She's only a few years older than me. Wow.
Well, so there's still a chance.
That's crazy. I don't know about that. I got a good thing over here.
Well, depends on...
I don't want some woman that's going to just run out in the night and go to the Royal Rumble to participate and lose. No.
She didn't run out in the night. It was 5 o'clock local time.
But she didn't even win.
It was still daylight. Well, now you've spoiled it for everybody. So...
I'm sorry.
God damn it, you can't do that. People won't listen to us if we're going to spoil this shit. But yeah, unfortunately, Trish didn't make it. But she looked good. And number 26 was Rochelle. And then came number 27. Charlotte has returned. Charlotte Flair, big pop, comes out. Goddamn, she looked like Theda Bara in a silent movie. Big cowl and cape and robe and the pyro. And she took her time on much of the walkout. It has a brace on the knee, but it was covered up with spangly lame. And again, it used to be a Pat Patterson thing that the guys, and there was no Women's Rumble then, so don't complain, but the guys that you really wanted to feature going forward, you really wanted to keep strong, you really whatever, they will make an impact when they come in. And there was some of that in the Men's Rumble also this time, but it hasn't seemed as important, or maybe just some of these guys don't know how to feed each other and set up to feed a fucking guy coming in the ring, whatever. But at least Charlotte went over and chopped everybody and clotheslined everybody and boom, 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 and did some spots with Jordan Grace and dumped Piper. And, okay, I've made an impact. Everybody knows I'm here now, that type of thing. So that was good. And then came Julia. I liked her better when she was hosting that cooking show.
No, that's a different woman.
Is that not the same one?
No, this is a different spelling altogether.
Oh, well, I thought it was a showbiz name for the cooking show. And then number 29 came up, and it was the refrigerator Nia Jax. And she came out and dumped Trish with Candy LaRue's help because they were involved in a whole little tug-of-war thing there. And, of course, the refrigerator gets in and wallers around, dumping, or not dumping, but knocking over everything in its path. Sort of like same way as when they bring any major appliance into your home. And then finally, number 30, Nikki Bella. And got a big pop because people didn't expect that. And which one? She was the one that was not the one that was behind the one in 31 and 1. That she was not the one that's married to Bryan Danielson, is she?
No, that's her sister.
Yeah, well, it had to be that one because I knew there's only 2 of them. I just can't keep them straight.
And she's to date John Cena. He's here for his, like, goodbye year. All of a sudden, she's going to return now? That's awkward.
Well, that's that way she can, with her and John, they can come and go at the same time.
Oh.
But is this the first time I've seen her wrestle?
No,
I don't
no. We've definitely seen her years ago.
Or was I just saying I don't want to see this?
She was the one She was the one that was excited to see Vader at the Hall of Fame.
Well, yes, I remember talking about that and making fun of that. And, you know, and folks, just so you know, he'd passed away at the time. She didn't know he was dead. That clip's on YouTube. But I honestly can't remember. I don't know what the fuck did her and her sister do. I can't remember. So I don't. Anyway, she got face to face with the refrigerator. And when they had their stare down, apparently the spot was going to be that then all the other girls who have been selling, they get up and they surround the fridge like hungry Girl Scouts on a sleepover. But when they were face to face, Nikki and Fridge, Nia had to turn around and yell, "Get up!" And all the other, and then they started standing up, right? And then they jump her, and she pushes all of them, like 9 of them off, and then they stop her, and then Nikki tried to wrestle, and it was an hour and 5 minutes into this match, and there was still 10 girls left. So I decided to do the humane thing and skip ahead until we got down to nut cutting time, as they used to say down in the country, and that was Charlotte and Nia Jax. And now we pick and Roxanne also. She was in there too. And picking it up there, Charlotte was trying to mount some offense against the fridge. So Roxanne was really wanting to make a name for herself here. And she jumped in from behind and clipped Charlotte's knee and then jumped on her, started getting some heat on her. And then she jumped up and she started getting on Nia Jax. Literally, she was up on Nia's back, and the fridge is trying to dump Roxanne off of her, and she's trying to hold her over the rope, and Charlotte came up from behind and dumped Nia right over the top of Roxanne and the top rope, and boom, the fridge was out. And now it's Roxanne and Charlotte, and you're thinking, well, my God, could there be an upset here? As we'll find out later on, any weird thing can happen. But they went back and forth a little bit. Roxanne ain't bad. She's painfully short, but she ain't bad. And Charlotte knocked Roxanne to the floor after an exchange, and Charlotte wins the Women's Royal Rumble, so she gets to pick whatever champion she wants to face out of all the available champions at WrestleMania. So good triumphs over evil in the end.
Well, is she a babyface?
I don't know. I'm just glad to see her.
What do you want to see? Charlotte against Rhea Ripley again, or Charlotte against Tiffany Stratton?
Woo! do. Selfishly, I think Charlotte and Rhea Ripley, again, they're always going to have a great match, but to be honest, again, they're both. Rhea's a babyface, regardless of how they portray Charlotte. She's got some goodwill because she's just returned from an injury, and Rhea against Tiffy can kind of be like the battle of the Nature Boys in terms of this arrogant, older, more experienced, and now possibly beloved blonde female icon versus this new bratty, new kid on the block type of thing, spoiled brat type of thing. So that probably would be easier to promote right now. But that's just me.
Well, we'll see what happens, but big Royal Rumble, what's her name? Alexa Bliss's big return. We'll see how that goes.
You can't use the word big in any way about Alexa Bliss.
But you must be happy. The person you would probably want to win out of everyone in that match won.
Yes. So at least, but also for business. She's a big name. She's been gone for a while, so therefore we miss her because she went away, and that's perfect to me for a WrestleMania main event in the women's division.